I'm Evan Laurent, and welcome back to Film Forecasters, EOP's open film debate segment. There are multiple movies in which it only takes a single installment to tell a story in its entirety, but in some instances, it takes a few sequels to accomplish that. On today's episode, we're going to talk about movie trilogies and which ones are not only good, but build off each other with each installment to create a complete story. So let's talk about why 3 can be a magic number in the film industry. But first, let's meet our panel. I'm joined by Lindsay Carson, Jake Dabkowski, and Blake Bichero. Lindsay, in your opinion, don't let me get in the way of this, but what is your favorite movie trilogy?
Well, I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I'm going to have to go with the original Star Wars trilogy.
Not the prequels?
I mean, I think, like, where would I be without the prequels? You know what I mean? But movie-wise, the Star Wars original trilogy is definitely the best. It's so well made, and it's such a cultural phenomenon. So I'd have to go with that, or either I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, so the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is so far the only one to be a trilogy. I mean, Tom Holland's not going to get a trilogy. Sorry, dude, but it's not going to happen. So yeah, I'm going to have to go with either Star Wars or Spider-Man. I think they're both so well made. And yeah, the third Spider-Man is kind of like a meme at this point, but the story-wise, I think it flows really well.
All right, Jake, what is your favorite movie trilogy and why?
I am also going to have to go with the Star Wars original trilogy because I think that the story that it tells is very complete. And I think that's the problem with the new trilogy is that it's all over the place and it's never going to be a complete story, I don't think.
That's something interesting about the Star Wars series is that there's not just one trilogy to
There's
pick
three
from.
now.
There's 3. There's the prequel trilogy, then the original trilogy, which was released first, and now
Yeah.
there's the sequel trilogy, which is still in development. And each have their own. If you see a clip from one of them, you know exactly which one it's
you
from.
know which one it is.
They
They
have
all
their
have
own
their own style.
Yep, exactly. Blake.
All right, I'd say my favorite trilogy is the Dark Knight trilogy. So the villains were executed perfectly. The story in them was great, and yeah, it was just a fantastic movies overall.
You think about superhero movies today, and you think about CGI, but
Yeah.
Dark Knight movies,
Oh no, they
all
barely had
practical.
it. Yeah,
They're all practical, and you see behind the scenes of how Christopher Nolan, how dedicated he got into actually filming these the scenes. There was the in the Dark Knight, there was the scene where the Joker flipped, or they flipped the truck with the Joker inside it, and it was all real practical
Yeah, it
effects.
was.
So, other movie trilogies, is there any of them that have weak links? Say there's 2 good ones, and then there's something that's just, there's one of them that just doesn't stand up to the others. I know you mentioned Spider-Man 3, but any other ones you could think of? Any other ones that there's something that's a clear outlier?
I'd say the Back to the Future.
Yeah, I was
trilogy.
also going to say Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
1 and 2 were pretty good. I'd say the third one just like felt like it dragged on the whole series overall. I feel like
It doesn't tell an ending
Yeah.
to
They
the
kind of
trilogy.
completely lost the plot in the third
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
I agree.
Not to be trash, I love the Dark Knight trilogy, but the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises are 2 of my favorite superhero movies, probably my 2 favorite actually. Batman Begins is good. I'm not knocking it. It's a solid movie, but that's one of them that I'm like, it's an okay
Yeah.
movie. It's nothing compared to the other 2. It's just a little bit down, but they're all good movies. Flipping that, is there any where there's only one good movie?
The Matrix.
The Matrix.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
there's going to be 4 now, but
Yeah.
as it stood, the first Matrix is an amazing movie, but the second and third one are just both awful movies.
Yeah. One's clearly.
One is the only good thing about the Matrix franchise.
That's comparable to Jurassic Park, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree.
I grew up with the first, until there's Jurassic World, there still is the Jurassic Park 3 movies, and watching the first one now, it still holds up as a good movie, good effects, good CGI, good characters. You get to the second one, The Lost World, and it's fun. It's clearly not as good as the first one. It's still an underrated sequel, but that's the thing when people compare the 2 sequels. They compare greatness to average, and the third movie's just
Not good.
down.
Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, they're all fun, but the first movie is the only one I think that's solid.
The third movie is actually the first Jurassic Park movie I ever saw.
I think I did too, because
Yeah.
they showed it all the time
It was
on
on
TV.
I remember it was on Netflix, and I was like, my friend was like, "You should watch this movie called Jurassic Park." And I went on Netflix, and that was the only one they had. And I was like, "This is terrible. Why do people like this so much?" And then years later, I saw the first one, and I was like, "Oh, okay, I get it."
I saw Jurassic World, and I didn't see the one they made after that. Do you think they're gonna make a third one?
They are.
Yeah,
They
I
are?
think it's going to be
Actually,
the final.
The concept of the third one, they just released a short film, and the concept of the third one seems neat because it's actually living up to the title Jurassic World. There's no more theme park. The dinosaurs are just roaming the world at this point.
Yeah, that's when I saw the first Jurassic World, the hype leading up to it, I talked to people. They didn't even know they just thought there was Jurassic Park and this was a sequel.
Yeah.
They didn't know there was 2 and 3. That just shows
Yeah.
how their impact in pop culture. But the first one definitely looks like it outdates the second two, even though, yeah, Steven Spielberg even did The Lost World Jurassic Park. Last category, the worst trilogies.
Wow.
The Sam Raimi SpiderMan Trilogy.
Really?
In my opinion, I think they're super. I like them for their time. Don't get me wrong, but I think that they're extremely corny, and no offense,
You're fine.
but I don't know. I think that they're very dated now, and none of them look like high schoolers at all. And that's just
especially the first one.
yeah, especially the first one where like, cause the second two, like the high school aspect doesn't really matter, but in the first one, it just sucks me out of those scenes.
I'm going to put some dirt in your eye. But I agree with you. Even I like them just for the funny.
Yeah,
you know?
they're fun. Don't
But
get me wrong, but
Toby's like a 30-year-old in high
Yeah.
school, and I
That's-
know the new actor, Tom
Holland.
Holland, not the old school horror director, but the new actor. I don't really care for the new ones as much, just because I grew up with those
Yeah.
ones. But I'm not. I do agree that they got that part right, that he actually looks like
Yeah.
a high schooler. Yeah, but
He's like 23.
yeah, you have all these 30-something-year-old people running around the high school. But another interesting trilogy where none of the movies are the same, I found, was, have you ever seen Cloverfield?
I saw the
Yes.
first two, yeah.
Yeah.
yes, that is a very interesting movie trilogy because I remember the first one comes out and it's a found footage movie about a monster attacking the world. And then years later, this trailer just drops, and it's like in a month, Cloverfield 2, 10 Cloverfield Lane's coming out, and I really liked that first Cloverfield movie, so I was so excited. They did the ARG for it, so like in-game or in-universe websites, which are always cool.
With the slushy.
With Slusho, and I still have my Slusho shirt actually that you could get in the mail from the first movie, but so I went to see it and I was like, wow, this has nothing to do with the first Cloverfield movie. And then I remember it was the Super Bowl. They were like, the third Cloverfield movie releases tonight, and
Yeah, I
the
remember
monsters are going to be back. It's set on a space station, and the Cloverfield monster shows up in the last shot of the movie.
Don't spoil it.
No, don't watch that
yeah.
movie. It's
Yeah,
awful.
it's-
But yeah. Go
Sorry,
ahead.
I saw the first one and it was the same way. Like I thought wasn't like a huge fan of the first one. I thought it was pretty decent. And then I saw the trailer for the second one and I was like, okay, I'll go see that. And I was like, this is complete. Like I was so confused because I was like, am I in the wrong movie? It was so different from the first one.
You know why they did that, though?
Why?
Well, you know why you felt that way, because it was originally
Yeah,
a
it was
different movie.
originally a different movie.
It was
and
called The
J.J. Abrams-
Basement, I think. Or,
Yeah,
or The
something
Cellar.
yeah, I think it was The Cellar. Honestly, I think the movie would have been stronger if they had just taken out the Cloverfield element.
Yeah.
because
you're expecting something the whole
exactly. It's a very strong movie, and the fact that because the whole point of the movie is you don't know if John Goodman's character is telling the truth or not, and the fact that it's set in a movie universe in quotes because it's really not, but that is a monster movie franchise, you kind of know from the get-go, okay, he's definitely telling, like there's monsters out there, and that's what kind of, I don't know, it holds the movie back.
Yeah, because originally it was J.J. Abrams'
J.J.
short
Abrams,
story.
yeah.
And then, because the whole movie, that would have been so much better if it wasn't Cloverfield.
If it was just its own original thing.
And then the third one is just, they It's like they tried to tie those two together.
And
just-
that's the same thing for the third one. They just had a random movie about like a space station. They're like, let's just put Cloverfield in it.
I'm surprised none of you guessed my favorite movie trilogy.
What is your favorite movie trilogy?
It's not The Dark Knight. It's close. That's a close second. But my favorite is the reboot Planet of the Apes trilogy that was released 2011 to 2017. Matt Reeves directed the second and third installment. But taking a series like Planet of the Apes, which was a cheesy late 60s, early 70s, you know, the first one's good, but the rest of them are just fun popcorn movies, and making it really serious, kind of like they did with The Dark Knight. Each installment builds off of the other. That's my perfect trilogy. I was going to tell you what we were going to talk about next week, but I'm getting the signal we have to wrap up. So you'll just have to tune in to see what we'll talk about on next week's Film Forecasters. Thank you for joining us.